Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, January 26, 2018.
Commissioners Repenning, James, and Jacinto are present. We have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, starting with the Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Robert Gutierrez, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, George Peba, LE Sanitation.
Good morning, Larry Hsu, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Angelica Samayoa with the Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Good morning, Raul Mendoza, Assistant Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any cards under public comment, no cards under Neighborhood Council commentary, but we do have speaker cards on items 4 and 5.
Okay, we'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, January 5th, 2018 by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 1. Council District 14. Property acquisition, Riverside Drive Viaduct Replacement Project, right-of-way number 33750, recommending that the board first authorize the city engineer or his designee to acquire parcel numbers 8TC and 8SD as indicated in the right-of-way contract signed by the property owners, Asdullah Alamdari and Connie Alamdari, trustees of the Asdullah and Connie Alamdari Family Trust, and Perpan, PERPAN 3 LLC, a California limited liability company. And number 2, authorize the Director of the Office of Accounting upon request of the city engineer or his designee to draw the following necessary demand. Quote, $54,000, such amount representing the funds required to compensate the property owners for the City of Los Angeles' acquisition of parcel numbers 8TC and 8SD, as required to enable construction and future maintenance of a storm drain located at 2000 North Figueroa Street, Los Angeles, California, 90065, close quote. Mr. Pachero? Hello.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board, Bureau representatives. We are here to seek your approval to authorize the city engineer for the acquisition of this storm drain easement at the corner of Figueroa and San Fernando Road. And this is necessary at that corner where there is a new traffic runabout as a result of the construction of the Riverside Drive Bridge. So we are also requesting you to please authorize the Director of Office of Accounting for the release of the amount of just compensation, $54,000, which is based on an appraisal to determine the fair market value.
We'll start with Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Gus, thank you for this. The property acquisition, did we have this in the radar before we did all the improvements, or was it after? When did this property acquisition come into play?
It came to play during the construction of the Riverside Drive Bridge. There is a necessity for the storm drainage easement because of the uneven distribution of the grade to the street level.
Okay, so it's necessary for the maintenance.
It is necessary.
And the total amount that we're going to pay is free and clear. Will create that property acquisition in perpetuity.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the number is based on an independent appraisal and negotiated therefrom, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Jordan, anything on this?
No, we have no objections.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, then Commissioner Santos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 1. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? We will send number 1 forthwith. Agenda item number 2, Council District 10 Construction Services Contract and Sole Source Task Order Solicitation. Genesee Carbon Scrubber Procurement Project. recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to use the construction services contract and to issue task work orders to the contractor for an amount not to exceed $449,300 for the installation of Afros Industries odor control system at the Genesee facility. Ms. Lee, welcome back.
Good morning, Board of Public Works. My name is Crystal Lee from Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. Just a clarification, this particular board report is not a sole source. The sister project that was adopted in a board report on November 28th was the sole source portion. This is two separate board reports. The first one was for procurement for sole source for Afras Industries, and this other one is just to approve the city engineer to authorize Cisco to issue task work orders for an amount not to exceed $444,300. This carbon scrubber has reached its service life, and this portion of the work is authorization just to install for Murray Company, who's the existing Cisco 9 contractor, to install a pad and place what we were approved on the 7250 board report procurement portion.
Any questions at all? Commissioner Cinto?
So rather than, thank you, so rather than the sole source, it's installation, but we're using Cisco.
Correct.
Because it's
The sole source portion was approved previously on November 28th.
Right. So I don't know if we need to amend the agenda, but to make it clear, but we are using Cisco and we're going to get it done.
Correct.
Thanks, Crystal.
So we need to amend, where do we need to, did I miss something? It says capital improvement project collection systems, Genesee carbon scrubber installation, authorization to utilize construction services contract work order number SCZ 12798.
Correct. Just the agenda title.
I'm looking at the agenda. I don't see did I see sole source somewhere?
It
President
does say
James,
and
it's just
sole
in the,
source task order
title of-
solicitation.
Oh, and sole source.
Right. It
Got
should
it. I
not
just
read.
saw construction services contract. So we'll amend that out.
Great.
Thank you. Any questions other than that? Okay, so Commissioner Sintos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2 as amended. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2 as amended. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, Ms. Lee. Agenda item number 3. Council District 2, task order solicitation number SN-68, Carollo Engineers Incorporated, recommending the board first authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation or his designee to award task order solicitation SN-68 to Carollo Engineers to provide technical expert services for the development of the San Fernando Valley Green Street Evaluation Lankershim Boulevard Great Street Project. Secondly, approve a total budget of $3,780,000, including a 26.22% contingency to fund the services provided. And 3, approve a term of engagement for the task order solicitation that begins on the issuance date of the notice to proceed and ends on December 31, 2018, with 2 optional 18-month extensions. These extensions are dependent upon the approval of the renewal of the parent on-call contract. Kevin Ho. Hi, sir.
Hi, good morning, Board of Public Works. My name is Kevin Ho, and I'll be presenting on TOS 68 Lancashire Boulevard, Great Street. So, LA Sanitation, in partnership with LA Department of Water and Power and Coastal Conservancy, plan to capture and infiltrate stormwater to increase the groundwater supply in the San Fernando Valley and improve the water quality in the upper LA River area. The city is subject to MS4 permits for all dry weather and stormwater discharge in the LA River, and is required to reduce the amount of pollutants such as fecal indicated bacteria, metals, sediment, and other constituents that have a total maximum daily load. So this project is located in Council District 2 along Lancashire Boulevard between Victory Boulevard and Chandler Boulevard, and it's also listed as one of the Great Streets in the Mayor's Great Streets Initiative program. So this program will evaluate various stormwater treatment systems and project components that will be installed along Lancashire, along the existing public right-of-way. Typical project components include parkway swales, bow swales, and dry wells. Additionally, the scope of work for this TOS include engaging and obtaining input from stakeholders, developing design plans and landscape plans, and installing approved project components. The completed project will reduce local flooding, increase stormwater capture of up to 105 acre-feet per year, recharge local groundwater, and overall improve the water quality in LA River. LA Sanitation advertised its TOS to the 25 firms on the on-call consultant list and received 4 proposals. Corolla Engineers was selected based on his expertise and experience in these type of projects. The total budget is $3.78 million with the term of engagement that expires on December 31st, 2018 with 2 optional 18-month extensions. LA Sanitation respectfully recommends the board to authorize LA Sanitation to award TOS 68 to Corolla Engineers to approve the budget authority of $3.78 million and approve the term of engagement for this TOS. Thank you.
Commissioner Sento, we start with you.
Thank you, President James. Kevin, thank you for this too. Looking at this, and I understand the rationale, of course, of the project too, and it fits right in line with sustainability and what we're trying to do. I'm asked a question regarding sort of going onto the on-call list as opposed to sort of working collaboratively with our Bureau of Engineering. Is there any issues or the background or the context of the elements in this scope of work, this TOS, that could have been done in-house working with our Bureau of Engineering?
I guess it goes to basically where the construction funds are coming from. They come from an MOA between Department of Water and Power and LA Sanitation. It's a MOA of that DWP agrees to pay up to $15 million to fund 5 projects in the San Fernando Valley. One project has already gone through. This is the second one that's about to go through. And this has an aggressive schedule completion date of December 2018. Although we do have 2 optional 18-month extensions due to the project and the background of the funding source, we opted to go through the TOS process to, I guess, expedite the process.
Okay, you're saying because of the MOA and the source of the funding that sanitation had the opportunity to go to expedite it and to go on a non-traditional route or an alternative route of getting the project done too. Was BOE consulted on this? Our Bureau of Engineering staff consulted or just checked in terms of the process?
I believe Bureau of Engineering will be informed throughout the process of this, and we will regularly consult with them on details pertaining permits and other needs.
Right. I think that what we're trying to do is obviously get projects done in a timely manner and to, of course, to collaboratively work interdependently between our 2 bureaus. And we did have a policy direction come down and to be able to guide us. It stated that both sanitation would check in with the Bureau of Engineering should any of these, and this was in November too, so I think we've had time. If the Bureau of Engineering hasn't been brought in or advised, I would request that be done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sento. Commissioner Pang?
Hi, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the origin of the project. I'm wondering, Majid, if you could come up as well. So this project actually originated through our Green Streets Committee, correct?
Yes, yes.
This was actually at the time that now Deputy Mayor Romero was a commissioner. She was actually running the Green Streets Committee, and it was her idea to actually go out to all of our great streets and with committee members evaluate which streets would be the best ones for some elements of green infrastructure. And we came up with, I think, 3 that we thought were pretty good. 2 have now been funded by DWP. They're in the Valley. This is one of them. And, you know, DWP enough water supply out of the infiltration component that it was of value to them to fund. And in fact, they funded a total of 5 projects, correct?
Yes.
And there's a deadline for expending that money, which is what,
December the 2018.
2018, end of this year. So the Green Streets Committee, we do have members of the Bureau of Engineering, representatives who participate in that as well.
Yes, they were in those meetings. From
They
the
come
beginning.
every
Yes,
month.
They come to every, yes. Yes, Susan Shu is there all the time.
They're
and
always there,
they're
and I
always
think
there.
that it's at that mid-level that I really see sanitation and engineering working together on stormwater projects and green infrastructure. Engineering does some, sanitation does some. You know, we work a lot together on POPO, and learning and sharing best practices. These are all evolving technologies and dry wells and whatnot. So, you know, I think sometimes, we look at different mechanisms for designing and building these things. I think this was, seen as an opportunity for innovation, including the involvement of one of our local nonprofits, Proclaim It Beautiful, to do outreach and education around what is green infrastructure, why does it make sense for the city to fund these projects, what is our water quality obligation to the state, and how can we build projects that actually make better streets, better communities. So I think, I support this moving forward today. I appreciate the subcontracting achievements by Carollo with the MBE, the WBE, and I think that we have a chance to really help engage the community, help show what we can do when we combine green streets with great streets. So thank you.
Thank you, and sir, we can get your name for the oral record?
Thank you. Majid Sadeghi, I'm with
Yes.
Bureau Sanitation.
Great, thank you. And Commissioner Davis.
Yes, I was going to say that in looking at this project, certainly I promote innovation, and so I'm very glad to see that sanitation thinks that this effort, in terms of the way that they put it together, was innovative in some way. I wanted to ask you about what you think the advantage of having gone the way that you have chosen to go in terms of contracting out. What do you see the advantage in doing it this way is from the Bureau's perspective?
Hi, my name is Costa Capores, also with the Waters and Protection Division of the Bureau of Sanitation. Part of the reasons we're going through this route is it allows us to implement the project in an accelerated way. The funding from DWP is for a limited time, and we'll have to implement this project as a way to be able to use their funds in a accelerated way. But the other reason is part of the interactive nature of this, to be able to evaluate the site conditions, the infiltration capacity, and be able to implement the projects. We cannot use a traditional design, bid and award, and then construct a project. So this allows us to make decisions by having a team that consists of designers and construction on it. And back to the other question regarding if sanitation or the city had the capabilities of doing it in-house, the construction, we do lack that capability to do. So under the circumstances, and we've been working with Commissioner Penning, the mayor's office, and the DWP to find a way to be able to implement this project. And this is the only way we can achieve this project.
And in doing it this way, we were able to expeditiously get this accomplished and get it done and deliver the project to the public much quicker.
Correct.
So that this is the reason why you chose that. Now, in terms of the opportunity to create diversity in terms of the subcontracting, we were able to do that as well.
Correct. We're exceeding both the MB and WB and all categories and we are meeting all the costs.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I have a random question. How did we pick the two optional extension periods to be 18 months each? That's unusual.
I don't know, we're not sure about the background of this, but we do not believe we will need a second one. We're in discussion with DWP to be able to implement the project beyond the December of 2018, but we're looking at just exercising the first option. I think it's a standard language we've used before. Well,
You basically thought you might need more than a year, but not two? That's why you go with 18 months?
I don't know the language. I think we had this language in another TOS agreement.
Okay.
But we believe we would only need the one extension.
Okay. Got it. Commissioner Davis, anything else?
Yeah, I think it's good when we have multiple options. We have a large department with multiple capabilities, and certainly we've got to collaborate together within our department and also think innovatively in terms of often how we can deliver projects earlier and much sooner. And it doesn't take away from the load of work that we have because it comes consistently on an annual basis. So I'm very glad to see that in terms of the diversity. I always think we need to be reaching for diversity. And just like engineering, you have presented some diversity here, and I think that is good for the city. And always, from my seat, I'm always pushing us to do as much as we can in increasing those numbers. So overall, I support this, Mr. President, and would move that we move this item forward.
That's fine. Second, I have another question, if I might, though, get the privilege of it. How did you get to 26.22% contingency? Did I miss something?
The 26% contingency is...
Oh, it's 26.22.
2022 is part of, most of that fund goes towards item number 6, if you look into the board report.
Yeah, I got it.
Any additional services that might be required. For this, because of the expedited process, there may be some shortcomings, there may be some schedule changes, things that we need to look out for, that might potentially change the scope. For example, in the Van Nuys Great Street, during the initial planning phase, we talked to MTA LA Metro, sorry, and we found out that they were doing a project in that street. So we needed to divert the project. Same scope, no budget change, but we needed to shift the project over to the neighboring area. So it's situations like these that might come up. The contingency also provides available resources for us if we want to.
I know what a contingency does. It just looks like it's a number that's being backed into instead of done on the front end. That's all.
Oh.
I was just curious as to how it came about.
Other funds to fund item number 6 in our board report.
All right. Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you, President James. One quick question, too. I wanted to clarify, who's going to inspect the scope of work at the end?
The Bureau of Contract Administration would be engaged and involved in this.
Very good. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion, Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Thank you all. Any issue sending it forthwith? We will send number 3 forthwith. Agenda item number 4, above ground facility. Do we have is the appellant here? Okay.
I believe they are.
Okay, great. I just had gotten a message that you might be late, so let me go ahead and call number 4. Council District 4 above ground facility appeal, 1977 North Berindo Street on the Finley Avenue side of the lot. Recommending that the board deny Monica Sims and Robert Kozlowski's appeal of the Bureau of Engineering's determination to locate the above ground facility adjacent to 1977 North Berindo Street on the Finley Avenue side of the lot. Ms. Wang.
Hi, good morning.
My name is Hui Huang, and I'm with the Bureau of Engineering Division, the Development Services and Permits Program. This is an application that was received from AT&T for the installation of an above-ground facility at 1977 North Brendel Street on Finland Avenue side. This is in Council District 4, and it is in a residentially zoned area. We did receive the application for the installation of one standard AT&T cabinet of 40 inches high, 25 inches wide, and 20 inches deep. On December 12, we conducted a site inspection with the applicant. We determined that at the site there was one alternative site across the street at 200 North Carolina Street. However, this alternative installation location would require excavation across the roadway. Further research determined that Finley is currently under a one-year moratorium, so we are not allowed in excavation through June 2018. As such, that alternative location is no longer feasible. Through the process of this application, we received one appeal from Monica Sims and Robert Kozlowski. The reasons for the appeal were listed as follows. Number one, the proposed cabinet will attract graffiti and trash. AT&T provided in the application that there will be anti-graffiti coating on the installation. Additionally, there will be a phone number provided for anyone to report vandalism, and AT&T would, under 48 hours, provide the repair and restore the facility to original condition. Number two reason was that the cabinet might pose health risk. AT&T is proposing for the installation of fiber only in this cabinet, so this is a passive type of installation. Reason number three, the appellant purchased this property because there were no cabinets or utility poles adjacent to the lot. We have no comment on the item. Reason number four, the construction of this installation might damage sewer lines. We at BOE researched the facilities in this area and determined that the sewer lines are not along Finley Avenue where the proposed installation will go.
Ms. Huang, would you repeat that part?
That the sewer lines are actually not along the street where the installation is being installed. So the appellant was misunderstanding the location of the sewer lines.
Okay.
We also determined that there was no options for co-location, no option for installation overhead. At this point, we recommend, as such, based on these facts, for you to deny the appeal application. The appellant and also the applicant have submitted a public comments card and are present for any questions and comments. And at this point, I can take any questions from you.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Huang before we go on to our appellant? And we have AT&T with cards as well. So we will, thank you, ma'am. Don't go far. We may have some questions for you. Thank you for the summary, very helpful. Mr. Kozlowski?
Good morning, Mr. President, various commissioners, Commissioner Jacinto. I'm Robert Kozlowski. I am the property owner on 1977 North Brendo Street, the location where you will be, where this AT&T box will actually be abutting my property. So before I start my arguments against the proposal of putting up this AT&T box, I do want to make it clear I felt my initial appeal with Commissioner Jacinto. I felt very uncomfortable during it because towards the end, Commissioner Jacinto reported to me that he actually has an AT&T box in front of his home. And I just kind of think that's a conflict of interest, but also a bias against my initial appeal. I don't know why you guys have a commissioner who's basically overseeing people who are trying to argue against these AT&T boxes to basically be hearing the appeals when he has a box in front of his home. I mean, that's a conflict of interest, and it's a bias against people who are appealing this. I don't know how many boxes AT&T has put up, maybe 10 or 11, and they've always been approved, but I have a couple of arguments against putting up this box. One of them is basically based on technology. Now, I know they're trying to put up a fiber optic, box here, and according to Commissioner Jacinto, it's supposed to be an upgrade to the city's infrastructure. Now, fiber optics has been around over 10 years, so whether it's Verizon, Fios, or AT&T, and cable is still around too through copper. So the argument is this fiber optic is an upgrade to the city's infrastructure because you'll be able to basically surf through websites, download everything 20 million times faster than conventional cable. Now, my argument against that is, you can have a gold-plated wire sending signals to the internet to the servers. But the thing is, it's not about how fast you get to that site, whether it's through DSL or copper cable or fiber optics. If there's a lot of people going to one site, it's going to slow it down no matter what. So this is somewhat like false advertisement based on AT&T trying to claim that you're going to have faster speeds. You're probably not even going to notice the difference, whether it's cable versus fiber optics. I mean, this is not an Alexander Graham Bell moment where this is like the new telephone or the new light bulb with Thomas Alva Edison. This technology has been here for over 10 years. If this was such a threat to copper cable, I'm sure Comcast and Spectrum would have relined their whole copper cable to fiber optics if that was the case. Now, I'm not against you guys, permitting AT&T to put up these boxes. Okay, you guys can put them on wherever you want, but my reasoning for putting, my argument for not putting this box, at least in front of my home, is there are utilities. We have lines on utilities, telephone, cable, whatnot. I can't understand why we can't put these boxes on a post or take things off of the line that you don't need so you can put these boxes and service the communities without building these boxes on people's lawns. And having these boxes sit up there, maybe they won't be even used like some of the other boxes we have in the city, and it's just going to sit there. My other argument for not putting this in, if you do put this box up, where I live, there are people who vandalize on my street. There's gang members. I have people throwing things at my home, vandalizing with graffiti. Putting this box up, I mean, I know AT&T is arguing that this is graffiti-proof, but I'll be honest with you, there is no such thing as a graffiti-proof box or graffiti-proof wall. Someone could probably put liquid paper and there'll be graffiti there. Number two, graffiti is really not the main issue. This box will allow people to recreate on my street. They'll put bottles, glass bottles, cans. I'm going to end up cleaning up after these people because I don't want this to be a health and safety risk to pedestrians on the street. I'm going to be cleaning up this, not the city and not AT&T. So, this is sort of my argument for against this box. I really feel the city and AT&T can do a better job working together to put these boxes up and upgrade the city's infrastructure by not putting this stuff in front of people's homes where people are going to vandalize these boxes, put glasses on, and I'm going to end up picking up after them for a service that really isn't going to make a difference for other people who have satellite internet versus cable internet. And if any of my arguments are just are not going to go into my favor, because I'm the little guy here. I mean, I'm trying to go up against corporate AT&T. Billions of dollars in revenue. I'm just a citizen of the city, good steward, trying to help people 5 days a week. And I want you guys to at least come out and help me, the little guy here, instead of just having AT&T and you guys constantly bulldoze people like me trying to not put these boxes in front of their home. And if this doesn't work, if you guys are still going to put this box up, can you please at least put a red stripe maybe on the street so that it will deter people from parking? Maybe that way I won't be picking up after bottles. But hopefully some of my arguments are, and I rest my case.
Thank you, sir. We have two cards from AT&T. Gentlemen, in whichever order you would prefer to go. extent you would like to, obviously I can't tell you how to steer your presentation, but to the extent that you have in your presentation responses to the points made by Mr. Kozlowski, is always helpful to us.
Good morning. My name is Noel Pele. I'm joined by my colleague John Johnston, both for AT&T. With regards to the specifics, and John can go ahead on the technicalities with regards to Mr. Kozlowski addressed. First off, there is an anti-graffiti coating on these. It comes from the manufacturer on it. It is basically, I know that John can go ahead and has empirical knowledge on actually going out there and removing the graffiti that's on there as well. So, defer over to my colleague.
In regards to the graffiti, it is coated with a...
And just for the record, sir, we know your name, but the record doesn't, so go ahead.
My apologies. My name's John Johnston with AT&T Engineering. The anti-graffiti surface is baked on from the factory. It's part of the program that we have from them. I have personally experienced where you can take your finger. You're supposed to use a damp cloth, but you can even just take your finger, and the graffiti, the paint comes right off. So it is baked in there, and the cabinet will also include a sticker that's placed on it that gives an 800 number to call, and we'll come out and take care of that immediately, well within 48 hours. So that is addressed. In regards to the technology, this is a really great technology. You can download a full-length HD movie in 35 seconds. You can't do that on copper. You just can't. What this program does that's different than other programs that we have and other programs that other companies have is that we're taking fiber straight from our central office to the customer's house. We're bringing it right up through the neighborhoods on poles, through aerial lines to their homes, and when they request the service, we will be able to turn it on and give them really high-speed internet access, more so than we can do today on copper. So in regards to the technology, that addresses that. In regards to placing these cabinets on poles, we have aggressively pursued this, and in fact, of all the cabinets we place in the city, about a third of them end up on poles. So there's a lot less permits submitted for cabinet approvals, for AGF approvals. The reason we can't in this neighborhood is the pole sits immediately between two driveways. And part of our policy is we do not, because these cabinets mount to the side of a pole as opposed to the face, they'll stick out a bit from the pole. We do not want them to stick out into either driveway and potentially get clipped by a moving truck or a moving van or something of that nature. We also, of course, can't point it towards the street because poles are typically only 18 inches from the curb, and it would stick out into the street and could get clipped that way. We also don't want it to stick out over the sidewalk. It has more of a visual presence as you're driving down the street when you see it perpendicular to the street. So following our guidelines, that the pole between the two driveways doesn't fit the standard that we have for placing it aerially. This is our smallest cabinet that we have. It's as least intrusive as possible, and we believe that we've chosen a location that follows the AGF guidelines.
Okay, any questions for AT&T? We'll start with Commissioner Davis, then we'll go to Commissioner Rapenny.
I wanted to ask, in terms of the positions in the community where this particular box could go, what are the alternative locations that could have this box, aside from the one that was selected?
Our engineering goal is to put this as close to the center of the neighborhood of our existing copper network. What we're trying to do is we're placing it in the center so that the amount of fiber is equidistant so that we can provide the best quality service. This fits that design standard.
Is there any alternatives, though? I know often as you come before us,
yes,
that is always the goal. But then also, there are sometimes alternative locations where it could also work. In this neighborhood, where would the alternative locations be that it could also work?
In this neighborhood, and this is a part of the uniqueness of what we have to deal with and work with, is all the aerial pole lines are in the backyards. They're not on the street. And for us to place a cabinet on a pole, it would require us to have a pole on a street. And there's just a couple, and this is the one that's in the center. The other ones are on the extremes of the neighborhood, which wouldn't work. On the ground, to place it on the ground, as Huey mentioned earlier, it's the location we chose and the location on the other side of the street are the two really only practical locations. And with the street moratorium, that kind of eliminates the other side of the street for us.
When you say a street moratorium, what is occurring?
Based on the street's been resurfaced.
I see.
It's been resurfaced.
You would be required to cut into the street.
Yes, and if we were to cut into the street, we would have to repave basically from, typically it's, the guidelines are from intersection to intersection, curb to curb. We'd have to do that ourselves.
But even beyond that, cutting into the street damages the integrity of the street for the rest of the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Penning?
I just wanted to, for the purpose of the record, just clarify, because some comments were made. You know, our board, the tradition is that the engineering liaison handles the appeals and the AGFs, and that is our esteemed colleague, Commissioner Cinto. I think he does a great job at very fair thinking about, you know, what we know is our city's obligation to help provide the opportunity to add to our telecommunications infrastructure with, you know, the needs and desires of neighbors and communities. And, you know, I think I didn't actually realize that you had a box in front of your house, but my guess is that in talking to the appellant in this case that, you know, one of the things that has been sort of argued here is that these boxes attract loitering, and I don't think we've seen that. You know, I've worked in communities, I've worked for the city for many years, and I understand concern about graffiti, thus the coding, but as far as attracting people who might loiter or, you know, crime, that's not something that we've seen. I think these boxes are, you know, they're small, and so I just, aside from whether we move ahead with this location or find another one, I just wanted to clarify that I think we all very much appreciate Commissioner Cinto's work on these appeals.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. So a few items from myself as well regarding the comments made in the appeal, and then we'll get to and then I will get to the actual substance on which were provided in the record for the appeal before the oral record today occurred. There was a statement regarding that the city is putting these boxes on people's lawns. Mr. Jordan, our city attorney, our ordinance relates to the public right-of-way, correct?
Yes, the public right-of-way, typically it is referred to in our code as the parkway, which is, it's not uncommon for there to be grass in the parkway, but technically that would be part of the public right-of-way that we refer to as the parkway, usually the area between the sidewalk and the curb face.
So it's not on private property on people's lawns, correct?
It would be within the city's public right-of-way, in the area that's typically reserved for utility use.
Right, which is what we're talking about now.
Yes.
Right. Another issue, there was at least the insinuation when through this reference that we're just bulldozing these through, that the AT&T comes here today as a method of first resort as opposed to a method of last resort. And it's the other way around. Not all of these get to us, or we will be doing these all day, every day, looking at the number that we have to approve through our ordinance. What happens, and would you go through it, you touched on it a bit, Mr. Johnston, with the co-location attempts. But for the record, would you give us 60 seconds, either of you, Mr. Palace or Mr. Johnston, on your process that you attempt to do before it has to get to the point of coming to the Board of Public Works?
Well, let me back up a little history.
Like how you decide what the best place is within the parameters of what the ordinance allows you to do.
What we do is we have our boundaries for our neighborhoods. And within that boundary, we look towards the center of that neighborhood, and then we send fielders out.
And the reason is to provide the best service to the neighborhood, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. And then we send fielders out to look for locations that fit the AGF ordinance if we can't find a pole, because the pole will always be our first choice. Once that fielding is done, it comes back to me personally, and I review what has been fielded and either accept it or deny it and send them out and do it again. So we're very careful with the AGF ordinance, making sure that it complies.
So when the other point I want to make, thank you for that. The other point I want to make, and this is not a criticism of the appeal or the presentation at all, but it just comes, and we have to make it on occasion, but I think it's helpful for the record every now and again. And that is that we are particularly on, and I don't need to ask either of you gentlemen this, nor your colleagues for any of the other telecom companies that come before us. We are in no way, shape, or form a rubber stamp. We send a majority, and it might even be a vast majority, of these appeals back out for rework, if you will. So the norm is for you to not be approved on your first stop. If you look at the metrics of what happens at the Board of Public Works and the difficult job that Commissioner Jacinto has, the norm is that these are sent back out for various reasons to see if there is another option. And sometimes we move them, sometimes we choose other options, etc. You've answered the questions that I would typically ask in deciding what to do here, namely, move it across the street, which is another option. Cutting into the street, as that would require, is not a benefit here. It's not a better option. Number one, while it might meet the service requirement that you have for the community, you hurt the community when you cut into the street and damage the integrity of the street. It needs to be repaired more often. The street will damage earlier and easier and more often. And then finally, I have one question that comes from the oral presentation that I want to get a statement of clarity on the record for. There was the oral appeal raised an issue claiming a conflict of interest because our liaison commissioner who handles these appeals, Commissioner Jacinto, stated that he has an AGF that abuts his property or is adjacent to his property. Mr. Jordan, any thought on whether that would constitute any type of conflict of interest?
No, that would not constitute a conflict of interest. It does not present any kind of financial interest, which is the most common source of financial conflict of interest. Having a cabinet on the property does not raise an issue. What would raise an issue is if, say, for example, a member of the commission happened to live, next door or within a very close distance. But even then, that would be an issue. But there's no evidence of that here. Nor would what type of cell phone carrier any member of the commission has. It just doesn't create a conflict of interest, in our opinion.
Okay, thank you. So regarding the, I have one more question for you in a moment, Mr. Jordan. Regarding the written appellant questions, regarding the written grounds for appeal that are in the board report, the proposed cabinet is a magnet for graffiti, trash, and loitering. You all have responded to that as far as I'm concerned. Number two, There's a statement that they chose the property because there were no cabinets or utility poles adjacent to the property. Mr. Jordan, you had indicated that the purpose that the parkways are public right-of-way is for availability to the municipality in case utilities are needed or required, correct?
Yes, consistent with the California Public Utilities Code.
Okay. That takes care of number 2 as far as I'm concerned. Number 3, the appellants are concerned that the AGF installation may damage their sewer line. Ms. Wong responded to that issue. We don't have a sewer line that could be damaged that's in the vicinity such that damage would occur on number 3. Number 4, the appellants are concerned that the proposed cabinet might pose a health risk. What is the law regarding that issue, Mr. Jordan?
Well, first of all, there's no factual basis for that from the report about this fiber. The law under the Telecommunications Act, which is really more pertinent for telephone communications, telecommunications, is that the environmental effects or environmental impacts are not allowed to be a basis for a siting decision. So it's basically the Federal Telecommunications Act takes environmental impact out of the siting decision as a matter of law.
There is an existing, the area adjacent, according to the board report, the area adjacent to the proposed location for this cabinet, there is a wall there, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so the photograph that's here is accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Based on that, without any additional lights on from my colleagues, I would make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4 as recommended by the Bureau of Engineering. Is there a second? By Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, that will be the order. Any issue sending this forthwith? We will send number 4 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Thank you both. Agenda item number 6. I want to come back to number 5 in a moment because we have another hearing on a contract acceptance. But there are some contract awards I'd like to get through. Agenda item number 6, Council Districts 1 and 14, contract award, secondary sewer renewal program, Mission Road and Soto Street project, recommending that the board declare Vasilich, the first low bidder, to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award Vasilich a contract for the project for $2,972,463, and authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Jen Wenton. Hello, sir.
Good morning. My name is Jin Wen from Bureau of Engineering, Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division. We're here request to award a contract for the secondary sewer renewal program, SSRP PO4, Mission Road and Soto Street. Work order number at ZC 13041. This project is located at Council District 1 and 14. The scope of this project consists of renewing 3.8 miles of secondary sewer lines in the East Los Angeles area. The project is bounded by the Pasadena Freeway to the north and west, Long Beach Freeway to the east, and the San Bernardino Freeway to the south. The city engineer estimates $2,785,475. The contract duration is 334 calendar days. 4 bids were received on November 8, 2017. Based on the range of the bids submitted, we believe that this bid is reasonable. The contract of Vasselli has conducted a good faith due diligence business inclusion outreach program. Based on the review of the documents submitted by the contractor, the Office of a Contract Complaint determined that despite these numbers, the contractor has complied with the business inclusion program requirement. The mandatory subcontracting minimum for this project is 25% Vasselli has compliant by pledging 26.73%. Vasselli is a certified local business enterprise. So based on the above funding, we recommend the board that declare Vasselli first lower bidder to bid the lowest responsive and the responsible bidder and award the contract for this project. That will conclude my report, and I'll be answering any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Commissioner Santos made a Commissioner Davis, you have a question?
Have we heard from the, any of the contractors, prime contractors on this one?
Pardon me?
Have we heard from the prime contractor on this case? On the right one?
No, we're on number 6. Yeah, on number 5, we got they're here, yeah. Any question on number 6? Okay, no question on number 6. Commissioner Santos made a motion on number 6, I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 6. Any issues sending number 6 forthwith? We will send number 6 forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item, we'll come back to 5 in a minute. Agenda item number 7, Council Districts 4, 11, 14, and 15, a contract award street lighting conduit only project, Unit 3 high voltage conversion, fiscal year 2017-18, recommending that the board declare KDC doing business as Dynalectric the first low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder and award Dynalectric a contract for the project for $2,507,584. Secondly, forward a copy of the report to the affected council district offices. And 3, authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract for the project upon approval of all the required documents by the city attorney, Vince Nguyen. There you are, sir. Welcome back.
Good morning, President James, commissioners, and everyone. I'm Vince Nguyen with the Street Lighting. This project will install new street lighting conduit to facilitate future conversion of the existing street lighting system from high voltage to low voltage. We have received a total of 3 bids for this project, and Dynalectric is the first low bidder who has complied with the outreach requirements. Therefore, it's recommended that the board declare Dynalectric the lowest responsible bidder and award the contract for this project to Dynalectric.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Repenning?
I'm not going to oppose this, but I just on, and going back to the previous agenda item with the sewer repair and vacillage and this street lighting, item number 8, street lighting, clearly there are areas of work that we do consistently and regularly with the same companies over and over, and yet these companies have not obviously received the information from our board that we actually care about them using small businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and I think we just, street lighting, sewer repair, we do it over and over and over again with the same companies. So I'm hoping that maybe in this year, 2018, we can start to make an impact on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Just a moment, Mr. Nguyen. To Commissioner Repenning's point, and whoever, I'm sorry, going back on, is Jen still here? No. The message sent over from maybe from the Bureau of Contract Administration and from the Bureau of Engineering on agenda item number 6. And I know that agenda item number 6 has been approved and is gone. When you look at the history, while the numbers weren't necessarily great with vacillage, they obviously have contracted with subcontractors that fit the categories for the goals under which we seek results. And so the message, we know that they've had success in the past, so to Commissioner Repenning's point, the message should be sent that we like to see improvement from year to year. So we're early in 2018. We're not so early in the fiscal year 17-18, but we'd like to see improvement both fiscally, in the fiscal year and in each calendar year from these contractors that we do consistent work with year in and year out. I recognize that on this agenda item, while the WBE number is low at 3.32%, it is within range of the goal, and the goal was not 1, it was 3.95 or whatever, but there's still a 0, as I recall, under MBE from companies that do understand what our goals are. So that said, this contract's not going to be held up, but I'm not going to predict what my colleagues might do on a future contract coming up. So I'll second.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes.
I do want to point out the bids on this project were received on October 4th. Subsequent to that, there was a court ruling concerning the Board of Public Works Enhanced Electrical Safety Policy.
Am I violating the law right now?
We are not.
Okay.
But that
That's good.
enhanced electrical safety policy, which had not yet been ruled on when these bids came in, and when the request for bids went out, is part of this contract. We will be directing the staff to send a communication to the contractor here, KDC, doing business as Dynalectric, that that policy is not to be enforced on this project. So it's in this bid package. They've signed off, but it is not a policy that we are enforcing at this time. So we will send that communication. I just want to put that in the record because what you have before you does contain that policy.
Okay.
Again, the court ruled on that, and so we're not enforcing that policy.
All right, understood. We don't need to do anything amended here, though, do we? Okay.
No, you do not.
Thank you. So that would be my second, as long-winded as it was, to Commissioner Repenning's motion. Or was it even a motion? Okay, thank you, sorry about that. That was Commissioner Repenning's motion. Now, I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7 accordingly, though, and we'll send it forthwith as well. Agenda item number 8, CD4, contract award Bel Air Beverly Crest Unit 2 Series to multiple high voltage conversion fiscal year 16-17 street lighting project. This is a rebid, recommending that the board declare KDC, again Dynalectric, the first low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder and award Dynalectric a contract for the project for $2,925,604. Forward a copy of the report to the affected council district office and authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract for the project upon approval of all required documents by the city attorney. Mr. Nguyen, you're here on number 8 as well.
This project will convert existing high voltage street lighting system to low voltage multiple system by installing new conduit, wires, and luminaires. Bids were received previously on January 11, 2017. On March 10, 2017, the board rejected all bids because all bidders either failed to meet the outreach requirements or withdrew their bid due to a clerical error or submitted a bid that was too high to award. This time, with this rebid, we have received a total of 3 bids, and Dynalectric is the first low bidder who has complied with the outreach requirements. Therefore, it's recommended that the board declare Dynalectric the lowest responsible bidder and award a contract for this project to Dynalectric.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Nguyen on agenda item number 8?
Mr. President, admonition I gave
Same.
just 2 minutes ago applies to this contract as well.
Understood.
So communication will be sent to the contractor.
I kind of thought it would.
That's okay. But I checked.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Cinto. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 8. Thank you, sir. Any issue sending number 8 forthwith? We will send number 8 forthwith. Moving along to agenda item number 5 in Council District 13, contract acceptance, Los Angeles Police Department. New Northeast Area Police Station project, recommending that the board first accept the contract. Second, assess liquidated damages of $54,882.81 for noncompliance of the local apprentice hiring requirements. And third, instruct the Director of the Office of Accounting to disencumber the recommended liquidated damages in the amount of $54,882.81 from the project fund. Our representative from, I'm not sure who is presenting, Mr. Jensen, you are. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. God bless you. I am Chris Jensen, the Labor Compliance Officer for the City of Los Angeles. The mayor, the council, and you, the members of the Board of Public Works, know that a public works construction project in the City of Los Angeles is much more than just building a building or fixing a street. It is jobs. It is opportunities. For the young men and women who live in our city, it's the possibility for a career. It's a chance for people to make something of themselves, to learn and gain experience, and find a path to a better life. That's why our project labor agreements were created and why they are structured the way they are. Now, on this particular project, I want to give credit to Bernard's Brothers. From what I understand from speaking to engineering, they did a very good job in the actual construction of the project. On this project, they met 2 of the 3 requirements of the project labor agreement. They met the local hire requirement, which is 30%. They actually achieved 38%. Very good. On the disadvantaged requirement, it's 10%. They hit 13. Again, very good. However, they failed to make the local apprentice requirement, which may be the most important of all. That requirement is 50%, and Bernard's achieved only 47%. Okay, I understand. 47% is pretty close to 50%. But that translates into over 878 hours, or almost 110 working days. To the young men and women of our city who need jobs, that's a significant amount. The really unfortunate thing here is that up until the project was nearly 80% complete, Bernard's was making the requirement. They were at or slightly above 50%. At that point, their local apprentice numbers dropped. Despite persistent calls, emails, and warnings from our office, Bernard's was never able to get back to the local apprentice requirement. When our office tried to discuss Bernard's failure to comply, they placed the blame on their subcontractors and their associated unions. But the project labor agreement specifically addresses such a situation. When the unions are unable to fill the request for local residents within 24 hours, the PLA allows the contractor to obtain local residents from any source. Now, neither Bernard's nor any of their subcontractors provided any evidence that they had attempted to do this. On August 6th of 2015, we sent a formal letter to Bernard's that informed them that they were failing to meet the local hire requirement. Since then, we sent 6 additional letters notifying them of the potential penalties if they failed to comply. We met with Bernard's on 3 separate occasions since that August 6th letter. We've, as I said, made numerous phone calls, sent repeated emails warning Bernard's of the penalties that they might face if they did not correct their actions. During a meeting on January 4th of 2017, Bernard's placed the blame for their project failing to meet the local apprentice requirements on the IBEW removing their apprentices from one of their subs, Steiny and Company. Yes, IBEW did remove their subs from Steiny, and I'll come back to Steiny in a minute, but there were 54 other subcontractors on the project, who were also required to employ apprentices, and placing the blame for the project failing to meet the requirements on one subcontractor out of 55. Okay. A big part of the problem here is that Bernard's came in as a broker. They didn't actually do any of the work themselves, and they did not control their subcontractors. Also, Bernard's chose not to hire a jobs coordinator, despite being warned of the consequences if they failed to do so. 27 of their subs had no apprentices at all. 12 of those subcontractors worked over 270 hours with no apprentices. And 8 of their subcontractors used non-local apprentices, but no local apprentices. I went through all the subcontractors and picked out 12 that had a substantial number of apprentice hours that either had no local apprentices at all or had significantly more non-local apprentices than local apprentices. And I don't want to be tedious here, but I want to mention just a few of these. Adkison Engineers, before the project started, had 6 non-local apprentices. Once they got on the job, they added 2 more non-local apprentices, no local apprentices. First Fire, before they started, had no apprentices at all. They added 1 local apprentice, but 3 non-local apprentices. Harris Rebar had 4 local and 7 non-local apprentices. They added 2 more local and 8 non-local apprentices. Karcher Insulation had no apprentices before the project. They added 4 non-local apprentices. And Steiny had no core apprentices before the project started. They added 14 local apprentices, but they also added 19 non-local apprentices, more than the local that they added. All of this has resulted in the assessment of a penalty of $54,882.81. This is unfortunate, but it is entirely of Bernard's own doing. Staff in my office worked very hard to reach out to Bernard to help them to succeed. Sincerely, we worked very hard. And they so easily could have done this, but for whatever reason, they did not. Thank you.
Mr. Jensen, in the communications with the representative from Bernard's, was there a direct answer given other than Steiny? Was Steiny the answer given?
That was given specifically in a meeting to us, but as I said, they brought in Steiny brought in more non-local apprentices than they brought in local. So if Steiny had stayed on the job, the actual ratio would have been worse if they had maintained it the way it was.
Were they, other than the contract language as has been described in here, was there any verbal warning in the meetings that, hey, we really don't want to assess a penalty here, and you guys don't want to be penalized. Why don't you just solve this problem?
Repeatedly. I will tell you what I say very often. I don't want to come to the Board of Public Works and say, hey, guess what? We've we've assessed $55,000 in penalties against any contractor. You don't want to hear that. What you want to hear is, hey, guess what?
We met the numbers.
Yes. They've hired 14 new kids. They've given new people new jobs. I don't want to say penalties. I want to say jobs. But I can't here.
Okay. Commissioner Rupenning?
Is there a savings to either the prime or to the subs of a cost savings for not doing that work and bringing on local apprentices?
Just bringing on apprentices in general, you're paying the apprentices a lower rate than you're paying journeymen. Now, there's also the argument on the other side of that a journeyman is more experienced, more capable, they're a better worker. Very often that's true. Sometimes it's not, but very often it's true, yes.
So I guess my question is whether, you know, in not complying with our PLA on this, was there a cost savings achieved?
Really, no. I honestly can't tell you why they did not comply with our PLA.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll hear from them in a minute. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any funding source that would be in jeopardy if we did not assess the full penalty? In other words, some funding sources that we have, if we don't penalize, then we jeopardize reimbursement monies and things like that. I didn't see anything in here, but
No, not that I'm aware
okay,
of, no.
just making sure. All right, thank you, Commissioner Davis.
You mentioned non-local apprentices.
Yes.
Now, that means they came from, where they come from?
Outside of the city of Los Angeles, possibly Orange County, Ventura, Riverside, wherever they come from. A lot come from.
Where's Bernard Brothers from?
Bernard's brother, I'm honestly not sure where they're located. Los Angeles.
Oh, you're from Bernard Brothers? Okay, good. So they're here. I'll ask them those questions. Now, were these individual non-local apprentices, were they diverse? Were they from different? Let me ask this question. Is this a local funded project or is this a federally funded project?
It's a locally funded project.
Okay, so these non-local apprentices, did they happen to come from diverse backgrounds?
I'm afraid I can't answer that. I don't know. I just know outside of the city of Los Angeles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen. No further questions for you at this time. We have a speaker card from Sam Laham from Bernard's.
Morning, President, Commissioners. Thank you. The rest of the board members appreciate having us here today. Obviously, Bernard's, we're a privately owned company. We've done a lot of work with the city of LA. We have a lot of respect. I think you guys know our name is out there. We win the subcontractor award every year for being the best contractor out there. Our reputation precedes us in every step of the way. We don't look at it as hard bid projects or public works projects. Our clients are near and dear to our heart. We work extremely hard to make sure we fulfill our requirements. In the case of the Northeast Police Station, which really to us, in fact, I can tell you if you were to pick up the phone and call any of the people that across the board don't even look at any name and ask do Bernard's deserve to have this assessment? Every single one of them will tell you absolutely not. From Alan Kowakuchi, from Hannah Choi, from Fernando Campos, across the board, every single one of them will tell you that they would feel that there are some circumstances that they will definitely lean towards us not.
Did any of them tell you that?
Yes. They didn't tell me specifically that, hey, we're not going to assess that.
I mean, I got Mr. Kawaguchi sitting right behind you, and I don't want to create. I just don't want you to go into an area that might not help you here.
No, I know, and I'm not saying that they have. I can tell you that what they've specifically said, what we've talked about. Let me finish my story.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what.
Just recognize that when you start using other names of people that aren't necessarily going to appear before us, that aren't going to be here to speak for themselves, there's risk.
I understood. Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
So part of what we've gone through in terms of the, and I can tell you across the board, we have never not missed these numbers across, and you can look at all of our past history, and I thank you, Chris, for mentioning that we met. We were above on the other two requirements, which with the requirement with the local requirements, the local hiring was 30%. We were at 38%. And then the disadvantage, we were supposed to be at 10%. We met 13%, and there were some things that happened, along the way, and that's why I can tell you some of the discussions I had with some of the people that we've gone through.
was this project encountered some issues along the way, and I'm glad you brought in the 80% because we were carrying this thing the whole entire way, and there has been a major delay to the project where there was a bioretention redesign that kind of put the project on hold for about a year, and we have been extended. And I can tell you, we worked through with the city and the Northeast police stations where, first of all, we made sure usually, as you know, every time there is an impact or a delay to the project, the contractors try to take advantage of that. They start piling in, bringing in the subs delays, bringing in, and they deal with billions and millions of dollars of delays. We made sure we shielded, everyone, our subs, we shielded the city and the local, staff from any delays to the project. And we were literally strictly dealing with the staff, the 3 or 4 people that were on the projects, the PM, the super, and the PE for the time extension, which we have been granted a time extension of a year delay to the project. And we literally took probably 30 or 40 cents on the dollar on that. And part of that, and we broke even on the project. I can tell you, we did not make a single dollar on the project, but you win some, you lose some. Our relationship with the city of LA is huge to us. We do a lot of work with you guys, and you guys are, a big part of our business and our way forward. So we have a lot of respect for that, and that's one of the reasons we just took, we licked our wounds and we said, we move on, and we settled for just literally the staff that we had on the project, and that's what I meant when I talked about Alan. Will attest to that, to the fact that I worked with the city, and that's so I wanted to correct my statement on that he understood that we worked with him on that, and we shielded everybody. There was not a single delay from any of our subs. And just going back to the 80%, that's really when the impact happened. And as you know, when the project gets delayed, you have a momentum going with every sub just meeting their local hires, doing, and I had a full control on everyone. And I can tell you, I did lose some of the control when the project gets delayed and stops for a whole year, which we have. If you look at the records, we've been granted a whole year of delay. I have to tell you, it did throw me out of balance. Throughout that whole year, one of my subs went out of business. I can tell you some of the other things that the building is built out of masonry as well. The other issues that went with that, there was no program for the local hire for the mason. There was no apprentice local hire and I can tell you, Chris will attest to that. And that was a big piece of component of our building that we couldn't even get local hire. There was no program in place. So there were a lot of components. I would never even be standing here talking about 47. We usually meet, we meet these numbers at 58 and 60, and we exceed these things. So I'm embarrassed myself to actually be standing here talking about 40, because we don't even get that. We've never been assessed LDs, and it's a big deal for us moving forward for the fact, not just the money aspects of it, to the fact that we get assessed LDs by the city of LA. It's a big deal for us. It's our reputation stands behind it. And I ask you guys and for your kindness, and that's all I can ask for.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Davis and then Commissioner
I'm
Cinto.
trying to understand the problem. Is it that after this big delay, then the subcontractors with whom you were working came in and failed to achieve the local apprentice requirement and began to put in measures to not comply with it after this big delay? Is that what happened?
So that's one of the items, and one of them was, some of them just because when these subs bid these projects, they give it like 9 months or so, and that's their window that they get in and do this job, and that's how how it is. It's running a business is tough.
I understand it. I just wanted to make sure that was the circumstance here.
Yes, that was one major circumstance.
That's the circumstance here. Okay, so that's what I wanted to be clear about, because I'm not clear, and I'm asking you some questions so I can get clear on your circumstances. The other one was that there was no local program, no local hire program in place. Is that what you?
For some of the trades, yes. Masonry.
Whose responsibility is it to put a local program in place?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So we just need your name for the record.
Rudy Delgadillo.
CEO. I was actually the project manager on the job from day one.
Yes, sir.
All the way to the very last day.
And you're with?
Bernard's.
Okay.
I was in charge of the project. I was the main contact for the city.
Sure.
On site. What happened is the Mason, and this could be verified, the union said that due to lack of membership, they canceled their apprenticeship program. We provided letter
Which
from...
local was this?
I don't recall, but it is the Los Angeles local. Mason.
Oh, Masons, okay.
Yeah. Their contract amount was $675,000. Most of the exterior walls and side walls were all masonry. They tried to get it, but they were unable to get any apprentice. We provided letters from the union to the city on several occasions saying our apprenticeship program is closed. We no longer have an apprenticeship program.
Now, the contract administration person just said that there were numerous other locals from which we could have obtained
Yes, sir.
Apprentices. Is that true?
That is absolutely true, but that's another trade. The Mason, we have to go to the Mason because it's a PLA, and our subcontractor was a signatory. Was a signatory subcontractor, so he's bound to get his apprentices from the union hall.
Got that. Now, here's my issue. If that is true what you're saying, then it is not true that you had other unions from which you could have pulled somebody.
We did, because there's electrical unions.
I see.
There's carpenters, laborers, and everybody else.
So
which
why
we did. There's no reason, when somebody states that we went and got non-local apprentices for no reason, knowing that we're seeing liquidated damages, there's no reason why we would just prefer non-local. Our trade request would go into each union.
And so here's my question. Then the others that you've just mentioned, why didn't we not communicate with them to get apprentices?
We did.
And what happened there? Not the Masons.
You got many responses from a lot of the LDs. What we did is we did a calculation of who was looking and who was attributable. The hours where we got non-local apprentices, who was attributable, we put them on notice saying, listen, you need to step it up. They responded to us by saying, look it, they submitted trade requests that went unfulfilled. They submitted communications to the unions where they said, we have no local apprentices to give you.
Gotcha. That's
and
what
the
I'm
reason,
trying,
and the reason
hold on, I'm trying to understand. You already know. I'm trying to learn.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking you questions to increase my own knowledge and awareness.
Okay.
Now, after having made it clear to them that you needed these apprentices, they told you that they didn't have them.
Correct.
Now, did you let contract administration know that?
Yes, sir. I passed on all that communication documented to them.
So contract administration was aware of this specific difficulty you had in getting manpower from the labor unions who did not respond positively to you.
Correct.
And yet, they are blaming you for not having labor people.
Correct. It was our responsibility. It was our responsibility under the
I'm trying to
contract.
understand the problem. I have it. I'm trying to understand the problem, and I'm trying to identify the problem as you are giving me the account. And I'm trying to make sure that what I am saying is your account. Okay.
What I want to express is that we did do our due diligence in trying to achieve. When things are said like we don't understand why they didn't, we tried everything we could as far as from the trade in conformance with the PLA to get them. What we did do is also, when the trade requests were not fulfilled, when local hiring apprentices were not available, we need the documentation and everything we could. Every subcontractor that responded, we submitted it.
So as a result of that, then you began to go outside of the area to get the non-local apprentices because of not being able to get them from within.
What would happen is the work had to get done. So when the response came back that we have no local apprentices, a non-local apprentice was sent per the master agreement, because for every one journeyman, you got to have a certain percentage per the master agreement of that union of apprenticeship. So that's what we were trying to fulfill, because we don't want to get in trouble with the master agreements either.
Right.
So there's a lot of things.
Okay. I just wanted that understood.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Since he's in the audience too, I'd like to call Alan Kawaguchi to come on up too, if possible. Alan. From the project management standpoint, Alan, the delays and from that project attainment and achievement, knowing that we're a few hundred hours off and there's a history of success and achievement from Bernard Brothers on projects. What's your take on it? Can you give us your perspective, sir?
Yeah, Alan Cowgie from the Bureau of Engineering. Bernard Brothers is a very good contractor in terms of meeting the project, working with the city. They've done an excellent job in that area. Like I said, I've dealt with them, worked with them on the detention facility. They have done a lot of facilities with the city, and they've all, in my opinion, when I've worked with them, have been very cooperative. They've never been adversarial to us. And so, like I said, the delay that they're talking about, I think we compensated for that in terms of time, and we issued change orders. I don't believe, otherwise we'd be in claims, which we're not. So that was all settled as far as I was concerned. They keep also mentioning liquidated damages. This is not liquidated damages. Conrad could speak a little more of that. It's a labor issue. And again, Bureau of Engineering really doesn't get into the labor compliance of that area.
Okay, so whereas they took care of the project, and they did good on the project, this is a labor issue. This is not
in my opinion, yes. I thought we settled all our change orders that were out there, and so, at least in my opinion, that's what I felt was happening at the point.
Very good. Thank you, Alan, for that clarification.
Thank you. Mr. Jensen and Ms. McGlinchey, or Mr. Smith, let's start with Mr. Jensen. Mr. Jensen, I want you to respond to what you've heard in the way that you would, and then based on that, I may ask you for some speculation, but go ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to try and avoid that, but go ahead.
I did hear a couple of things that did not make sense to me. I heard that the cement masons have discontinued their apprenticeship program. That's not correct. Local 600 has a very strong apprenticeship program. Local 500 also in a different area, but Local 600 is Los Angeles area. They have a very strong, we've taken our staff out to their training facility and toured the training facility. Okay, well, cement masons also have a training facility. They are, you're right. Block mason, cement, okay, different kinds of masons, but yes, they both have training facilities. Also, I heard that Bernard's Brothers...
Did you ever hear in the discussions leading up to, well, in the meetings that took place where you, during the project, when you were telling them that they were, as I understand it, that they were not getting to their apprentice numbers, did you ever hear them say that the apprentice pool was not available to them?
No.
That there were not, that they were, that either these programs had been shut down, or we can't get our numbers because we don't have the proper pool to draw from?
Never heard that, no.
Okay, go ahead with what else you were going to say. Hang on a minute, Commissioner Davis. You went through your questions, and I'll get through mine, and then we'll come back to you. Go ahead, sir.
Also, there was a statement that we were given information that various unions did not have local apprentices. I've not seen anything to that effect. I also just consulted with the last analyst that was assigned on the project. She's not seen anything to that effect either. So this about the apprentice agencies not having local apprentices, we've never seen that. So
anything else from the presentation that you want to add in response?
That's all.
Then what, based on your experience, and you've worked with this contractor, you've worked with a lot of contractors in the city for, fair to say, a few years. What happened here?
I sincerely don't know. We want this to be a partnership.
Was there savings? Commissioner Penning didn't hint on it. She directly asked, was there some sort of savings somewhere? Was there, if they had gone through the effort to get the apprentice requirement that is mandated, would they have incurred some other cost somewhere that would have been much more than the penalty is?
It's calling for supposition.
I recognize that.
Okay. It really appears to me that they just did not take it seriously. At one point, in November of 2015, we asked them for a meeting. No, they couldn't meet. They didn't want to meet until January, which we're trying to tell you, you've got a problem here. January got here, we still couldn't have a meeting. We didn't have the meeting until March. And for 4 months, we're trying to set up a meeting. We're trying to tell them there's a problem here. They just didn't have time to hear it. So I can only assume, and again, supposition or assumption, that they just did not see this as a serious issue. They had other things that they were concerned with.
Your recommendation is for the full 54.
It is.
Do you have discretion to recommend otherwise?
That discretion is really with you, the board.
Right. So but I guess my question is, the Bureau would always recommend the full amount that is subject to the documentation.
That's what we have to recommend,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Commissioner Davis.
I'm still a little bit confused. You mentioned Local 600,
Yes.
and you mentioned that they did have individuals there, but you mentioned cement and not masonry. They mentioned specifically masonry was not available. You said that 600 had some people available. That was not true, and that they had cement. However, my understanding from the testimony was that they are specifically looking at masonry, which is totally different than cement in this case.
Typically, it's called cement masons. Okay. There are different types of masons, but cement masons. And Local 600 is cement masons.
We're going to, sir, we're going to let you respond. We have a microphone that picks up a record.
Okay.
It can't hear you in the audience, so that all that was missed, so we're going to have to come back to you.
Here's
Go ahead.
Brick tenders are Local 4, just to clarify.
Right.
But, okay.
So Local 4 is what they were talking about, correct?
Well, brick tenders, Local 4, cement masons are Local 600.
But they were talking about Local 4, right?
I believe he was talking about cement masons, which would be
No,
Local
he said
600.
local. He said masonry.
Okay, there's different types of masonry. Cement
That's what I'm trying to
masons
get
or
to the
brick
bottom line
masons
on.
or block masons.
He said masonry.
Okay.
Right here before all of us. And he said that they were not available. Are you saying that they were available?
Yes,
You're saying they were available.
I'm saying they
But
were
they
available.
told him, according to his testimony, that they were not available.
That's what he
That's
said.
what he said. So that confuses me. The other thing is, the impact here is delays. There was a delay in the construction project.
I'm not aware of that delay.
Okay, my understanding was from the testimony that there was a delay.
He made that statement. It would not have affected what we do.
No, not what we do, but it does affect the outcome of the operation of a construction project. Sometimes delays have an impact that cause many other domino effects to occur. And so I just wanted to establish in fact that there was in fact a delay.
I'm not aware whether there was or was not.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Kawaguchi, do you have anything on the delay issue?
Alan Kawaguchi. I know the project had delay issues in terms of days, but again, we were given, through our change order that we issue normally compensation or non-compensation, but those days were given to the project. So again, that's how we're able to close out the project.
Got it.
Typically, if there's a dispute, it would come before the board.
All right, got it, understood. Commissioner Penning.
I would just say where I'm at on this is that it seems like a very good company. It seems like they're care a lot about their reputation, and our staff says the same. They do a good job for us. There was a delay. It sounds like that might have kind of set some things off that would have normally been humming along. It sounds like the representatives from Bernard Brothers acknowledge that they maybe were, some of their normal activity was sort of set off by the delay. Nonetheless, as the city, we have compensated them for, you know, the, the impacts of the delay through the change orders, et cetera. You know, personally, I think that, and I haven't heard a good reason why these numbers weren't achieved. I don't think it was malicious in any way. They were using apprentices. They just weren't the apprentices that are specified by our PLA. I don't think that they, you know, nonetheless, we have a PLA. It's important to all of us that it's upheld. You know, we want to make sure that we're doing local hiring for the major projects that are part of our program. So I think it's important that we that we do levy, you know, real liquidated damages on this, because it simply wasn't done. Whether that's the full amount or another amount, I mean, I think, you know, we're all sympathetic to the company that's before us today in terms of their work with the city. So I'm open on that, but I do think that we need to show that we take our PLA, the terms, you know, seriously, and that we're not willing to compromise on that. I would also be open to if we think that there's some proof or some evidence that hasn't been brought before us, that would show that the outreach was done and that the local apprentices weren't available, I'd be open to continuing for a couple weeks to, you know, provide the opportunity to furnish that paperwork. But to me, it sounds like if it existed, we would have had it already.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. Commissioner Jacinto.
You know, thank you, Vice President Penning, on that. If that's a call for a continuance for more due diligence and more vetting of the actual documentation, I'm fine with that.
Commissioner Davis?
I wanted to say the same. Certainly accountability is critically important on both sides of the table. All of us 100% support making sure that labor union goals are achieved, and we stand solidly behind that. And yet, we have a responsibility to hear people who are giving us feedback in terms of what has occurred. And in this circumstance, they are claiming that, in fact, there are some different circumstances than what we have heard. And I agree with you. I think it's fair and it's just to give them an opportunity to bring that in, to see, in fact, what this is. I mean, we're talking about one set of people in labor, and they're talking about, it appears, another set. And if this is true, I think the proof of the pudding is in the eating in terms of them bringing in the evidence of such. But without a question, we know that these goals should be achieved, and every effort should be put forth. And yet at the same time, I just want to make sure that what they're telling us is the truth.
So what I hear from the three of you, which I'm not going to object to, is continuing this item because of we might be able to get some clarity that might affect what we do here. I've got a couple of questions, though. Sir, and I'm sorry I don't have a speaker card with your name on it. Well, I have yours, Mr. Lahan. I don't have your colleagues. Is there information that you had indicated something about emails from some of these labor organizations?
Absolutely.
You have these emails?
Yes, and they were transmitted to the city.
And the city already has them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, because this is just going to affect in how long we continue this. Are there any other email communications from any of these labor organizations that you have that the city does not have that we need to have?
If there is, it would be many few, and it would have gone through the phase of me going through the transmitting of that information to them. I might have had some stragglers, but I believe you have most of all the information that we got from the union trades
Okay.
and our subcontractors.
So you don't need time to compile any additional
I
information?
could do it within a couple hours.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jensen.
Can I make one point?
It's risky, but go ahead.
Okay. What I want to say is when he says that we were ignoring the meeting requests, I just want to state why. It's not because we were ignoring the city or we didn't take it serious. This was a transition project. That's the period he stated of November, December, January. We were moving LAPD into their new facility. And so my time and everybody else, we had to keep those operations moving. And it wasn't that we didn't want to meet. We said, through this time crunch, we got to get the police facility relocated and operational. We got to do that. After we get them in and signed off, we'll meet with you as many times as we need to.
But you wouldn't meet with them then?
Right, because we did not have the time. The request would come in and we would say, can we extend it? Because right now we're at a critical time on the project because we are moving the LAPD into their new facility.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Jensen? How much time would you have needed during that period?
How much time would we have needed for?
For the meetings that you requested?
An hour at the most. Typically, we can say what we need to say in 10 minutes, but typically meetings will go to an hour.
Do you have the email communications that you heard discussed as far as you know today? Do you have everything that you need that we might be seeing?
He has referred to some emails that I am not familiar with.
Okay. So what we ought to do is I think we ought to put this over for a couple of weeks. We're, without any more questions, you both can have a seat. Thank you, Mr. Jensen. We are, 2 weeks from today is Friday,
February 9th.
February 10th. Okay. 9th. I would encourage Mr. Jensen, your team, to communicate with Mr. Lahan's team, just to make sure that everybody has the same communications, everything that you need. Because Mr. Jensen, you're going to be the one that's going to submit this information to the Board of Public Works, to the four of us, okay? And to Mr. Jordan. And then we'll be back here in 2 weeks. I am going to foreshadow, along with Commissioner Repenning, a bit my thoughts on this, though. I'm very curious to see if there are communications from these labor organizations that raise additional questions, as Commissioner Davis's discussion has indicated could occur. But short of that, I just don't see a good enough reason to stray from the recommendation when an entity is this close to achieving its goal. The issue about them being an excellent contractor should be taken into account, will be taken into account, but the contractors that are familiar, that are good contractors, are also familiar with our city process and with our city rules. I'm concerned about what I would like to see, Mr. Jensen, as well, and Mr. Lahan, if there's communications, Mr. Lahan, if there's communications back and forth regarding the requests by the Bureau of Contract Administration for a meeting, even though it's in the transition period, I'd like to see those communications back and forth if they exist in email form. Because even if it's a meeting that takes place in an evening when you're in transition, that may weigh one way or the other in whether or not, no sir, that will waive, that will weigh in whether or not we want to stray from what the recommendation is here, because it will show due diligence one way or the other, or maybe it will show some sort of issue or concern, and if there's an explanation that exists or doesn't exist, that will make a difference as well. So we're looking at 2 weeks from today for the rest of the hearing. Mr. Jordan, you wanted to say something?
No, I just wanted to make sure that staff and the contractor here understand all the potential areas that the board may need clarification on. For example, there's been discussion about masons, local 4, local 500, local 600. I'm not sure if everybody's on the same page, so that may be an area that, additional clarification might be helpful to the board.
Okay. So, in addition to what Mr. Jordan has correctly communicated, I would add the issue that that Bernard's put on the table just a moment ago regarding the reason for the lack of a meeting. Any communications regarding that would be helpful as well. So that's what we're looking for. All right, thank you. Well, so, yeah, go right ahead. I'm going to tell you that the last time you guys did that, you hurt yourself, because now I found another reason that you wouldn't even meet with us, during the transition, when you could have done so for an hour. So you want to add another one? Go ahead.
No, it wasn't. It's just that I wanted to back to the what started this whole story, and then I think the commissioners went through it, and then right at the 80%, like I said, right at the 80%, and I understand the 47 is, but right at the 80%, the project got delayed for a year, a whole entire year.
So you're repeating yourself.
No, I'm not repeating myself. I just, because that's not, that was not brought up. You mentioned that we're not meeting the.
I heard that.
Okay. The project got pushed a whole entire year. We did lose some control in doing that.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
But and by the way, anything that relates to the delay that is not 600 pages that you guys could share with us would be helpful.
Okay.
With Bureau of Contract Administration. The only requirement is that we're all looking at the same documents.
And we do, and I'll make sure it's not 600 pages. It maybe a few pages. And I wanted to, without repeating myself, we did settle on 30 cents on the dollar for that delay, in good faith, knowing that the city will also look at us as a good contractor in good faith, and we're both working towards one goal, and not to hurt each other, and that was the kind of the intent, that I wanted to minimize the damage from our end, knowing that very well that no one is going to come after us and assess LDs for not getting to that last 2%, given the fact that we were delayed for a whole year. So that's how I was able to settle for that number. I would have never settled for that number. Things would have been different. But knowing that the city would work with us, we would work with them, and that's usually it's the best win-win situations in that case.
Was that a condition of the settlement?
I can't say that. I mean, I with all due respect, I settled with the staff, because this is what we do. We settle. We don't go to claims. We don't do these things. Not us. So we did settle. Yes, we did settle, knowing that this is the best approach always.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's 2 weeks, February 10th. Thank you.
February 9th.
February 9th. I keep wanting to say the 10th. It's February 9th. Thank you. February 9th, Friday. Mr. Mendoza, have we cleared the desk of voting items?
Yes, just the oral report.
We just have the oral report left. Oral report regarding the stormwater capture update. Mr. Siddiqui. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, thank you. I was just looking at it. It's actually good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Sorry about that.
President James and
only by a few seconds.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, just a few seconds. I was just looking. I barely could see the clock. But Commissioner Repenning, Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Vicento, and City Attorney, the Bureau representatives. I just want to talk really quickly about our stormwater capture, utilizing green and stormwater infrastructure in the City of Los Angeles. This is a quarterly status report. I think everybody has a handout. I gave you. So I guess just quickly, we were, as you know, that the development is moving along really well in the city and is really picking up, and we're doing a lot of LID in our, our residential and our commercial properties in the city. And I'll be talking about the green streets and our green infrastructure here. As Commissioner Repenning was saying, Bureau of Sanitation has worked with many people, with the Bureau of Engineering, Bureau of Street Service. We were actually talking with Robert Gutierrez come in here of a couple of the projects we've done. North Hollywood Alley, we did 4 alley projects there, and also Elmer Avenue. We usually work with Bureau of Street Service. And just wanted to mention that. Just quickly going over, we On page number 2, this January 8th, we had a very good rain season. We were actually there with Kevin, who actually gave the, or in the morning he talked about it. We did actually get the first flush samples from University Rain Garden, the 5 of them, and yours truly. I was actually during the sampling too. So it was a really good sampling event, and we removed a lot of pollutants in that University Rain Garden project. The Penmore Water Quality Phase 2, we are actually at 95% completion for the project. On page number 3, Temescal Canyon Phase 2, we are actually 94% completed on that Phase 2 for the reuse project. The Albion Riverside Greenway project, we are actually at 50% completion, and we've installed several of the infiltration galleries, which is shown here in the picture. And that's moving along very good. The Argo Drain Subbasin Facility, yesterday we had the COAC AOC meeting where actually they approved the higher bid amount for this project, so that's going to be moving forward with the bid and award. The next one is the Roy M. Shaw Wetlands Project. We are 90% design, and it's moving forward for that project. We're working with LA County and Rackham Park. The Great Street, the one that the Van Nuys is moving for this in design phase, and we are pushing forward to hopefully finish that by December 2018. If, as you mentioned, that we have an 18-month extension on that, that one's moving forward. And I just gave some examples of other low-impact developments we've done in the city. And it's kind of hard to see the last slide on page 6 where we have all the other projects we've completed. And if you need any of them, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help out to show you these things. And if there's any questions, thank you, Mr. President James.
I don't have any questions. Commissioner Repenning.
Hoping that we'll get some more rain this year.
Exactly. You're praying. You're praying because we need to get a couple more samples for these projects.
Thank you, and
thank
to
you.
everyone at sanitation for this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. With that, have we cleared the desk, guys?
Yes, you have.
Then we are adjourned. Thank you.